funny. Nicole and I, one of my guides was telling her that she has to have like a leafy green diet. So we're thinking, okay, salads every day. And she's like, how long do we have to do this for? And I was like, how long do you have to do this for? And it wound up being 3 weeks. So I was like, no, I'm kidding. Of course, I'll do it with you. I'll do the diet with you. So that ended yesterday night. So the first thing on our minds this morning is, what are we going to have today? After basically eating, it was, kale, spinach, all that kind of stuff, any kind of vegetable, which I do. I mean, I'm a vegetarian, so it wasn't too hard. But I do occasionally like to have my bread. And I'm a sugar fan. I don't like, I know what it does to me. Yeah. But I still enjoy a little bit here and there, just as like a little treat. So it was no sugar, no dairy, which is easy, no eggs or milk or anything like that, which is not a big deal.
So mostly vegan.
Yeah, basically vegan. Yeah, but the no bread was the biggest thing. So we're like, we're gonna have pizza tonight. So if there's a one time when I splurge on cheese, it's just for pizza. Otherwise, I don't really care. So.
Oh, see, I did try to do vegan for a while, and I was like, I still ate pizza on the weekends. I'm like, I can't not do pizza.
Yeah.
I can't not do cheese. But I'm mostly vegetarian, but I'll eat some fish here and there.
Okay. Yeah.
Because sometimes my body just goes, I'm exhausted. I feel exhausted, and every once in a while. But I haven't eaten. Although I made I made beef for the family. I made stew, and I ate the potatoes and stuff out of it. So really, I kind of did. But it's like whatever. It was really good. I made it from scratch.
You stay basically on point the majority of the time. A little thing here or there, no big deal.
Yeah.
My thing is, I always remember growing up Thanksgiving, and just the family being around and all centered around food and just being thankful. And my parents made that a big piece of it. Making sure, like we said, grace and gave thanks to everything that we were appreciative of and what we had. And so I look back on that as like a really good memory.
Yeah.
And turkey is involved in that process or in that celebration. So every Thanksgiving, that's the only time that I actually eat meat. I'll have some turkey.
I ate the gravy because I make it, and it was amazing, and I ate the gravy. The last 2 years, I said, screw it, and I ate the gravy. Like, I can't not do it. I'm like, I didn't eat the turkey, but I ate the gravy. Pretty much what I did yesterday.
Yep. Oh,
or whatever day, Sunday, that I did that. Yeah. Or Saturday.
I also have the occasional craving of tuna fish, which I don't give into, but otherwise, I don't miss any of it. So when did you start? Well, are you a vegetarian for the most part? Most of the
way, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll eat fish once in a while, and I will eat eggs. So kind of not really.
Yeah.
But I don't eat meat. And the reason being is I read Medical Medium.
Okay.
Back in 2017 or whatever.
Medical Medium. Isn't that published in Sedona?
No, that one is Anthony Williams.
I don't
know. He talks about he's a medical medium, and he what he considers the hand of God is who he talks to.
Okay.
And so he has a lot of information about different, it's how I healed myself the first time. Because I was being diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Okay.
I was told that he could diagnose me, and I said no. And then I started really getting into I'd already stopped taking all the medications I was taking asthma, allergy meds. I was taking all kinds of stuff, acid reflux, all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
And then I read his book, started doing, changed my diet, and stopped eating meat. That was the biggest thing. And then my body just went, it took about 2 months, and I did a lot of herbs that I didn't ever do before, and completely healed my body.
So after that, it's basically, you're done with it.
I've been done with it. I did every once in a while, if I don't take lysine every day, though, because what I ended up having was... Originally, it was a form of shingles that went into my gums, and it would cause these lesions, and I'd have them all over, and it was like my whole right side of my body would be tingly and numb, and just I felt horrible, but it was shingles, and I would get it over and over and over, and nobody, actually, the doctor in Dalton, the PA, was like, I think you have shingles, because it was like you could cut a line down my body, and the energy, I could just feel it was tingling and painful, and my jaw would kill me, and my head, I had gotten hit by a softball. Like really bad, and I got my face smashed open and stuff. And broke my orbit and stuff like that in 2010. because I was pitcher, and I got that ball hit right back at me, and I didn't respond fast enough.
Okay.
And it hit me right here. Anyway, broke that, opened it up, and so what happened is that settled into that space, and then into my jaw, my right jaw, and I would be in pain all the time. And my sister-in-law, Danny Munch, did a session on me.
Okay.
Her first long-distance session, she was practicing, and she goes, "Let me practice on you." And I hadn't felt anything really. I didn't know what I was expecting because I didn't know about this stuff yet.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and when she remoted in on me, I felt that energy just go gone. Like this horrible pain that I always felt in my jaw and in my forehead just went lifted and gone.
Wow.
I mean, gone. And I went, holy crap, this is real. This is real. Like I didn't know what to think of it.
This energy thing actually works.
Yeah. Like what? I didn't even know what she was doing.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
So, and then eventually she was like, "You should learn how to do Reiki." And I was like, I can't do that. And she goes, "No, everybody can do it."
Everybody can do it.
And she's like, "Okay." Or I said, "Okay." And so I tried it, and I got into this to heal myself because I felt like crap 24/7. And
taking charge of your own life, your own health, your own well-being,
yes,
and recognizing, oh wow, this is something that I can accomplish, that I can do. It's amazing.
We can heal ourselves from anything.
Yep.
And that's the thing, is people are like, "Well, I'm fearful of this virus. I'm fearful of, whatever."
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can heal yourself from anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
All you have to do is talk to your own self.
Yep.
Talk to your own abilities, talk to your own innate abilities, and talk to your immune system.
Yeah.
I just did a session with somebody, and I was just saying, she said, "What do I do?" And I said, "Talk to your immune system.
Yep.
Thank it for doing such an amazing job. Work with it. You can go in and talk to it. You just have to learn how to do it."
Yeah.
You don't even have to. You can, it knows.
Yeah.
It's you.
That's a really important point, that it's all intelligence. Everything that exists is intelligence, and we're part of that intelligence. So, we can see things as, separate pieces of things. So the immune system, for example, like you said, you mean I can talk to my immune system? Yeah, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
You can speak with it. You can hear or feel from it. And you start to interpret what those feelings and ideas, concepts that you're getting from your just natural intuition as to what's coming through. And the more you open up to that being a possibility or a reality, the more it expands. And you just keep trusting it more and more and more. And then you can do like you did for yourself, learning. Actually, I'm curious, was that session that you had, was that the moment when you're like, whoa, there's this energy thing is actually like legitimate?
Yep. That's exactly it. That was the moment that I went, oh, what is this? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, because she had done a couple sessions on me, and I knew she was doing something, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And then that time, when I felt the pain completely go, I went, holy crap! Like, okay, now it like clicked.
Yeah,
it's
a
like
switch that went off.
Yeah, it was that switch that went, and I noticed after that, after looking back at all the things that I would think along the lines where I'd be like, oh, well, maybe I'm, I've got this symptom, and then you look it up, which is what I see people do all the time, and I'm like, don't look it up, because you're talking yourself right into getting it.
Yeah.
With the law of attraction, you're just bringing it into being by expecting that to come, and that's what kept happening. I just kept getting sicker and sicker because I would look at those things and go, oh, well, maybe I've got, maybe I've got this, maybe I've got that, maybe I've got what my mom had. She was ill most of her life.
Okay.
She had ovarian cancer, and actually I watched her completely heal herself from it.
Oh, I was honestly expecting an opposite of what you just said.
No.
Yeah, but
she did at the end of her life. She did end up, she lived till 69 years old.
Wow.
So she was 36, and she was diagnosed with advanced ovarian cancer. And, and she went through pretty much hell. She went through chemo and radiation, and they basically told her there was just nothing left they can do. She'd had numerous surgeries. She'd been through a lot of pain. And at that point, chemo was really horrific. It was really bad, and she was in a lot of pain, and it was terrible when she was going through it, and so she really just didn't want to. And she made a conscious decision that she wanted to heal herself. And as a matter of fact, she went up to Choices in Richland, and she was really into crystals and into self-healing. Well, she got some self-healing tapes. Yeah, self-healing tapes and past life regression tapes.
Wow.
And
so she was open to it right away. I guess similar, her feeling as bad as she was feeling, hearing that she can't do much about it from the medical establishment. Yeah. She goes to seek ulterior ways of taking care of herself.
Exactly. So. And she did. And she completely brought herself back around. Complete remission. Spontaneous remission for her.
That's amazing.
And then she did have some effects later on in life, though. When she got older, she had a lot of pain from all the radiation and the chemo and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so she took a lot of pain meds over the years, and that kind of worked on her kidneys. And she did succumb to that, but she was almost 70 years old by the time she passed. So, I mean, she had a lot of life.
36 when this was like really bad.
Yeah.
And then living until 70.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I watched her heal herself, and after watching Danny be able to pull out that, and then I listened to Cryon a lot. I'd learned a lot of what I've gotten from Cryon. Mm-hmm. Lee Carroll, have you listened to him?
I don't know Lee. No.
Oh. So Cryon is the beings that
I've heard of. Yeah.
He channels. Yep. So, and they kind of give you a lot. That's where I learned about the innate, how you can talk to your innate. I learned a lot from Cryon. I learned a lot from learning Reiki. I became a Reiki master. And then after that, Callie Piper came and did a read for me, and she told me I was a medical intuitive, and I was like, I didn't even know what that was. Uh-huh. And so I started reading everything I could, and that was about, medical intuitive. And I still just didn't get what I was supposed to do. I knew there was something I was supposed to do. I just didn't know what. Mm-hmm. And it was very strong urge. Like I knew I was supposed to be doing it, and I wasn't doing it, and it was frustrating, which is what a lot of us do when we are awakening.
Sure.
And I found Tina Zion's book.
Okay.
And I read.
What's the name of that one?
How to be a medical intuitive.
Oh, okay.
And I read like 2 sentences, and I went, I've got to meet this woman. And so I went to Chicago and did training with her.
Okay.
Did like a 3-day training, which was amazing, and still wasn't quite getting it. It's slow. It takes a long time to figure mm-hmm. out, but I kind of worked through all of that. Had some help from Bonnie, my Reiki master, mm-hmm. Bonnie Bird. She was amazing at helping me figure out my way of doing things, because we all do things in a different way.
Yeah.
And so the way that Tina had taught was great. But I learned that I have to do things in my own way.
Sure.
And I have things that come to me naturally. Mm-hmm. Like I can see my past lives. I can see other people's past lives. It's like a movie. They show me a movie.
That's great.
Or they show me how I need to heal somebody in like my head.
Before you got to this point, though, mm-hmm. I want to go back for a second. Mm-hmm. So you had a session with someone that's in your family, is that right?
Oh, the one that worked on me, the Reiki session? Yeah, that was Danny. She's my sister-in-law, yep.
Okay, so your sister-in-law does a session with you. You have this energy kind of leave, and you're fully aware of it. It's like, whoa, okay, there's some truth to this energy work. Mm-hmm. What I want to get to is mm-hmm. you must have had some sort of contrast, of course, to what the regular waking world, or I should say like the standard day that most people have in their lives. Mm-hmm. We define things a certain way. Mm-hmm. And now you have an experience that shifts that. Mm-hmm. And there has to be a kind of back and forth in your mind, or the mm-hmm. ego kind of playing with you. I want to mm-hmm. go to that. What kind of internal conversation were you having, and how long did that go on for before you got to a spot where you said, hey, I'm going to continue going in this direction and seeing what else I can do for myself to mm-hmm. heal myself even more?
Mm-hmm. Well, I had no idea that I had psychic abilities, and I went out this is just kind of how it happened for me. I went out for a run.
Okay.
And, I was talking about my mom, and she was so into this stuff.
Yeah.
And I even joked at her funeral. I said, Mom, you got to come back and tell me, about Bigfoot and stuff. I was joking. I was really kind of serious, but I went out for a run, and it was like week and a half after she died. And I was having a really hard time, really broken down at that time. And this was 5 years ago. And I went out for a run, and I'm running down Hickory Road. I live out in Hickory Corners.
Okay.
Main road. Have my noise-canceling earphones on. Probably not safe, but I did. Blaring music in my ears, and it all drowned out. Everything drowned out, and I had just heard my mom go, "I'm proud of you," because I was having a hard time just thinking, oh, she didn't care about, because I was in sports. I was big into sports. I was a softball pitcher. I was, I did a lot of running at the time and stuff like that. And I heard her, and I went, holy crap. So it was kind of like, okay, she's helping me from that side. Like, all right. So it started coming in. Actually, if I were to call myself anything, it'd be more of a medium, because that was what happened. I heard my parents talking to me. I could see pictures of their faces.
Did you hear actual words as
Yes.
well as seeing? Wow, that's great.
So like my dad's talked to me when I started doing the healing myself, reading after I read that book, the medical medium book. I could hear my dad saying, "Now quit working out so much," because I was working out to excess. Okay. I was actually working out too much, which is what most people don't do.
You're pushing really hard.
I was pushing myself, and I was exhausting myself, and so my body couldn't heal. And so I needed to stop taking the regular medications, and I needed to start taking herbal stuff to help me for that part of it. But now I've kind of just switched over, and I don't take as many herbs, and now I use more energy work. I also connected the energy work in when I started learning the Reiki myself.
Okay.
And one of the biggest things that really switched me over was realizing that I was more on the shamanic path. Was a place I worked. Had a very low energy. It was out in Otsego. And the place that I worked, this building, the surroundings, there was a low energy there. And I found myself when I would go walk on all my breaks, try and get up and move and stuff. And as I worked at a desk, and I would go out, and I just call him the chief. I had this chief come up to me, and I just saw him in my peripheral, like in my head, like over here, and he showed me what happened to him there, and he showed me them being massacred, and it was not very pleasant to go through, but he showed me what happened there, and I just told him at the time, I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with this, Yeah. And so I just said, I'm sorry. And, but I ended up doing some prayer work and stuff to help the energy there. I feel like it's still there, but I feel like we can also, some of those things are there for that reason. Like that was there to awaken me. That woke me up to realize, and I could see things.
How long ago was this?
That was right after Mom died. So it was like almost 5 years ago.
Okay.
So that was when I started realizing, I could see the energy in the trees. Like I started seeing all that stuff when I started awakening. So that brought me into my gifts. And then I had a friend who committed suicide, and all of a sudden he's like up in my face asking me to talk to his wife and stuff. And I was like, whoa. Whoa. So I had to learn really quick. I said, okay, back off for a minute. I need you to go away because you're freaking me out.
So speaking with the chief about 5 years ago, and then speaking with a friend of yours that committed suicide, those were two like moments in your life that you're just like, whoa, okay, I guess I'm doing this now. Like this is gonna be more of like a common thing where I'm interacting with energy on this level. Yeah. So
that started connecting me in all these different ways.
Okay.
And then when I started doing the medical intuitive classes, and really working on how to hone that all in and bring it all together. It's like, because I felt like I was kind of in 5 different directions.
Sure.
But what I do is kind of a mixture of all of the paths. Like it's the mediumship, it's the psychic abilities, it's the medical intuitive, looking inside the body, learning how to go in and look into the energy field and figure out what's going on with somebody, how to help them.
How did you learn to trust what it was that you were seeing? Now I know from my perspective, like, because we all have these moments, right?
Yeah.
People that are doing this kind of work like us. My feeling is I couldn't not trust it because it is right in your face. I had an entity basically come to me and tell me that I had to fast, and I saw her, perfect vision, just like I'm looking at you right now. And that was the first time that I saw like something other than me that was spiritual energy giving me direct instruction. And I was like, I guess this is just what it is now, okay, this is fine. I didn't get scared by it, but I could imagine, I don't know why I didn't, only because it was so real and I didn't feel threatened. So it's just like, okay. But was there ever a moment that maybe an experience where you were either scared or you were questioning? And what did that look like for you? Like, how much time did it take to get to a spot where it was like, oh, okay, this is just what it is? Or, how did it wind up looking?
The only thing that really scared me was I had what I call a thought form it was like when I was growing up. I would have these nightmares. I would have these night terrors. And it was always this shadow man, like, following me and scaring me. So that was the only thing that really scared me. Was it freaked me out of the lower scary stuff is what scared me. And in my dreams, because we all are very powerful. And I had no idea that I was powerful. No idea that I was powerful. And I had this horrible, scary dream again. This is, right after I had done this awakening thing and was going through it, I should say. And I had this nightmare again, and it was, number one, it was like holding me down and making me not be able to breathe. And then in one night when I was sleeping, and then another night, I had this dream where it was like making my energy, it was moving my energy for me, and I had no control over my body in this dream. And I went, by this time I had realized I had power. And it had no power over me. And I went, wait a minute. This was in my dream. I went, wait a minute, you have no power over me. And it all just went away. It just dissolved. Literally. That's all I had to do.
It's like that realization, even within dream state, right? You recognize, hey, I have power, and you have the ability within the dream to even say it, and then it changes everything right there. There's people that I've heard going through certain ceremonies when they're doing, vision work, they're going into deep states of, consciousness as a result. And it's scary at times, depending on what's within them, because it's coming out that way. And then when they change, and I use that phrase as well, thought form, it's very important to me, thought form, because our thoughts and our energy, and it becomes form.
It does.
So the idea that we have control over what it is that we experience in the material world all comes from what our thought forms are, and we have power over it. So to see that within these states of consciousness, these deep states of consciousness, where they change their thought form into something that's positive, it immediately shifts the negative experience that they're having. And it's a beautiful thing to experience, because then when you are in normal, what we consider to be normal life, you can change it immediately like that too. Like it doesn't matter. It's not just because you're in a dream state or you're doing some sort of meditation work where you're working with subconscious or deeper levels of consciousness. You can do it literally like when you're in the office. You can do it when you're grocery shopping if you're not feeling good, or like if you feel a little sad, or you're having a strange situation with someone. You can shift the energy right then and there. So it's becoming awakened to it. So that's great.
And that one, as a matter of fact, that one. That what I would call an attachment to me, which was from me, from a past life after doing my work. That was from me from a past life being very, very, very angry at my husband. Wow. So that was something that followed me through until I worked on it in this lifetime, figured it out. And then it went poof after I, just released it.
Something that's been around for lives. Like past lives and following you into this life. And just an immediate, oh, wait, I have power.
Yes, and you're gone, be gone. And so I kind of just worked on that fear, and that was because, like I said, I had an extreme amount of fear around all of that stuff. And so working at that place and going through all the things that I went through made me become a different version of me,
It's amazing. I think there's so many people that are out there that hear what it is that we're saying in terms of we have all this power, and I completely agree with you. So many people though just don't recognize that or don't feel that. What are your thoughts for people that are like, oh, this sounds great, but I just don't see that for me? Maybe with your experience that you had, what was it that made you get to a spot where you could come out of old thought forms to get to a spot where, oh, I can do this amazing work, not only for myself but for others?
Well, I did have this is an interesting story. I did have an actual physical, like, more lower attachment. I would call it a demonic attachment. And so that was after my mom died. It was down the ways, a little ways. And it had been in my energy field. That it wasn't there before, but it had only been there for a few months. And I noticed my energy changed. I was irritable. I was really ornery. Everything, and it felt like the thoughts that I were having weren't mine. And actually, my sister-in-law came over and did another session on me, and she told me.
She's helped you a lot.
Yeah, she helped me a lot. She said that she had seen something come in when the place I was working at, come in through my crown, go down to my low back, and she said, were you having a lot of pain in your low back recently? And I said, yeah, it's so much I can't even do anything. And she said, well, you had, she told me that she saw it come in.
Wow.
And I said, okay, well, it scared me, and I didn't know how to get rid of it at the time.
Yeah.
And so she taught me how to ground. This was, beginning stages. And I just kind of did what I could, tried to keep my energy high, which was interesting because I did have an attachment at that time.
Yeah.
And what I did was I got really pissed. I got sick of it.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want this thing in my energy field. This is out of the thing that scared me the most was watching scary movies and having some nasty thing, like demonic energy in my body, because that was the thing I feared most. But it was the thing I needed most, because what I did was I walked into work one day and I just in this space where I felt a lot of this nasty energy, and I just went, I don't know what this is, and I just took my energy and I just pushed it, and I went, oh, I feel better. Now I don't do it that way anymore, but I didn't know what I was doing, but I removed that energy from me. It worked. And so ever since then I really started on going, okay, now I need to figure this stuff out. So I learned, and actually learning the medical intuitive part helped me to put that all into perspective. A lot of meditation, a lot of guided meditations, working on my stuff to work through all these things.
Was it all meditation specific for like working through the body, working through the chakras to allow some level of healing? Is that what medical intuitive was working with? Is really, it like a self-healing piece, or is it something different?
Really, medical intuitive is more shamanic work. Okay. It really is shamanic work. Yeah. And when I first learned about it and first did it, I realized it was new for me. And it was basically using all types of intuition to get information on what's going on in somebody's body. What I did was I just started collecting all those things from all those different directions and molding them into what I needed to do, because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I had no idea. Sure. So eventually those things came all to play. I had to, like I said, rework it and figure out how I was going to get my information. Okay. And it just started coming. Once I started opening up, at first I did question everything, because it feels fake to me. When it felt fake at that time, it doesn't anymore. But everything, when I would start to go in and get information, it felt like I was making these things up in my mind. But I really wasn't. I was getting actually very on point information that was very accurate, actually. And so once we learned to just kind of drop that, you just kind of have to learn to trust. It took a while.
I think what comes in, no matter what it is, even if we think it is, I'm my imagination's making this up. These things that are coming to me that I'm feeling, however it shows up, if it's visuals or even if you start hearing in words, like things are, are actually coming up that way. It's important to acknowledge it. You don't have to trust all of it, but just to acknowledge it on some level, especially in the beginning. Because it is very easy for what I'll call the ego to be telling us, oh, this is all nonsense. This is just silly business, that I'm making up, and there's no real truth in this for me. A quick example, I remember I was having some stomach issues, and I kept hearing, you need to eat more apples. And I just thought I'm talking to myself, like, eat more apple. Like, what the hell's that going to do?
Fiber.
Exactly. But and it's something that it's funny, I've always acknowledged that there is some level of apples and apple juice. I remember as a kid, like it would make me go to the bathroom, but I just wasn't thinking about that as an adult. Like it was such a far-fetched thing. I'm just telling myself in my head that I should eat more apples. But what the hell is that going to do? Like, even if it makes sense, yeah, sure, more fiber, and if I could remember as a kid, how that would help overall. The pain that I was in was so severe. What the hell's an apple going to do? Is what my mind was telling me, or what my ego was telling me. Sure. So yeah, I go and eat more apples, and literally within weeks of just eating apples consistently, I was fine. I gave it real credit after a few days. I think I told somebody about it, and they said, no, you have to listen to it. Oh, that's right. It was a friend of mine who's a master in Japan. He goes, no, you have to listen to everything. And I did. And that was like maybe 5-6 years ago. So, but yeah, so it's really important, I think, for people to know, trust what you're hearing on some level, okay? At least give it some merit, and don't just shove it off like, oh, there's nothing there. There's definitely something to be said for what's coming in naturally, and that's intuition. How did you learn to trust your intuition, you know, and how that connects to shamanism?
For me, I've read a lot of shamanism books. I've taken like basic shamanism classes, and it kind of just comes naturally to me. I talk to spirit constantly, by the way. So if I do that, that's why. And I channel all the time. So what I do is just kind of combine all of them. So shamanism to me is basically using your intuition in all different ways. Listening to guides, it's working on a lot of rebirthing processes, where a lot of like breaking off your energy and rebirthing yourself. Kind of working with my guides, just having that, they kind of just show me in my head like a video. Okay. Of what I need to do for people. Like they literally showed me on the last show we did together. This was interesting. I asked them, I said, you know, on these quicker sessions, can you give me a quicker way? Because this is taking too long. So they showed me in my head a video of me, like they fast forwarded, and they showed me going over to her stomach and pulling the energy out of her stomach. So I pull a lot of energies out. I'll look and see, and it'll just come to me like it's just I have to do it. It's just a feeling I have to do, and I have to just follow it. Yeah. So like a lot of pulling out of energies, lower energies, they'll show me in colors. Okay. Like if there's something of a lower nature. Are you using your
hands typically for that?
It depends. I don't have to. Yeah. Really, it's all in our consciousness. Yep. So I will use my hands, but it's because I'm just used to it. But I'm really using my mind. Yeah. So what I'll do is if I work on a person in person, which is hard right now, but I'll just pretty much go sit at their head, and I'll just work with them, and I'll just go into this really deep conscious state, and I'll look through their energy field, see colors, see any tears. A lot of times I'll see like spears or, you know, all kinds of injuries that they've had. A lot of times I need to pull them out. We'll pull them out. We'll fix them. We'll heal them, because you can heal it just with your energy. They can too. And what I do is I tell them what we're doing, and we do it together. So they do it with me. I teach them how to do it while I'm doing it. So as a matter of fact, I've tried to just do Reiki and not talk to the person. It doesn't work. It doesn't feel like it works. They have to work with me. And they have to be doing it themselves. I
feel like whenever I'm doing any kind of healing, I feel like they're doing it. I'm literally just guiding it.
Yes.
That's what it feels like for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, yep. So and there is no time or space, so we can do it in all levels from Germany to here, you know. Yeah. Because it works, because there is no time or space. And you're right, they're doing the work themselves. Yeah. We're guiding them to help them clear their own energy field. Basically.
I always think it's important, you know, because the word healing, it's thrown around a lot, and they tend to look at us like we're doing it, and they're giving us that power. And I don't want that power. I don't have that power. Right. I'm literally being able to recognize and see and feel what exactly is going on, but I can move it where you can heal it yourself, because they're the ones that are powerful. All of us, like we said earlier, have all this incredible power. We're just not aware of it. So I got to make sure that when I'm working with people and they're looking at me like I'm something special, it's like, no. I understand from your perspective why you're saying, you know, I'm special and I'm a healer and so forth. I'm sure you experience this all the time. It's like, no. You're the one that's actually making this a reality. I just look at people and I say, whether I say it out loud or internally, like we said, in our mind, everything's the mind. I just love them. And if I love them, then I have the ability to help guide them to do it themselves without even having to speak to them about it. Like, they don't have to do anything on their own. It's just a matter of me guiding it, and they're basically allowing their energy to heal as a result from it. So it's a pretty crazy process. That's great. I think it's beautiful how you learned to just trust naturally. You know, you feel it and you ride with it, essentially. You know, being able to see, I think you said tears, right? Seeing like some sort of tears,
or
like
openings.
Or,
they'll show me pictures. It's kind of cool. Like they'll show me glass, broken glass in the heart, through the heart. They'll show me, you know, they'll show me pictures so that I can understand. And when I say, I just tell them exactly what I see. So that, and they'll usually say, I know exactly what you mean. So, and it doesn't even matter if I know what they're talking about.
Yep.
I don't always know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, we're the messenger.
Yep.
We're bringing the information up for them so
Yeah.
that they can do this healing that they need to do.
Yep.
And if they aren't willing or not believing in it, it's not going to work either,
Yeah.
I've found. And if they've got to be willing to do their own work. I have a lot of people who are like, oh, this is so cool, I want you to work with so-and-so. And I'm like, do they want this?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. Well, it's
They-
not going to
yeah.
work. They've got to be willing,
Yeah.
and, you know, that's how it works.
I've experienced this where I've had someone sent to me, and I knew right when they were here that they showed up,
Mm-hmm.
and usually that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Not for this individual. And it's the first time where I'm trying to connect with his highest self, and it's like you have to tread carefully. And I was like, no, I got that kind of vibe already.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him, I said, do you really want to do something about what you're experiencing? And at that moment I didn't know what it was that he was going through, but
Mm-hmm.
he looked like he was wearing something heavy around him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an hour session, and we really didn't get anywhere because he never really agreed, I'm ready to let this go. Even though he showed up to the session, it still wasn't enough. He needed to go a little bit deeper to do something. So, yeah, not only showing up, but making a conscious choice to allow something to transition or to transform itself. How have you been dealing with this coronavirus that we've been hearing so much about for so long? Now it feels like with hitting us here, it's been about a month now, right?
Mm-hmm. It's been hard for me to keep my energy high, which is interesting because we're all empathic. Us healers are empathic, especially. So we can feel other people's energies and we can feel the world energy. And it's been hard to keep my energy up even though I've been kind of quarantined in my house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I just have to keep regrouping and keep getting back in nature. I'm lucky enough to have a nice big yard and have lots of open space where I can just go be
That's great.
free and get my feet in the dirt. Yesterday I worked in the yard all day, and that really grounded me back down, made me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think what's going on right now is just a mass awakening of people, and so that's what I got, is just this mass awakening. If people haven't gone through their awakening process yet, I'm seeing them, it's just like they're just ripped down, they're just raw right now.
They're being kicked in the butt
They're getting kicked in the butt, and
Yep.
and what's happening is they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna need some guidance.
Yeah.
And so just like I needed guidance from other people.
Yep.
And that's another thing I want to say is us healers or light workers, whatever, we all turn to each other for help.
Yeah.
You can't do everything yourself.
Nope.
You need help from you need help from different people to help you put your pieces back together.
Yeah.
And to make yourself into your new person.
Well
But yeah,
said. Yeah.
it's been interesting. It's hard to watch the earth go through this.
Yeah.
I work with Thoth and
So
Archangel
do
Raphael, and I did a channeling for a show I'm doing in Sarasota. But they were talking. They told me, they just said, this is an awakening. We're going through this, and it's hard to say, but the people who are choosing to leave right now, we choose what we're going to do before we come into these lifetimes. Well, we make an outline, is what I get.
Yeah.
So we make an outline of what we're going to go through, and this is a big awakening for the whole planet. So it's like all of us just went, can I go? Can I go? Can I go? I want to do
I wanna
do
be
this.
involved
I
in
want to
this
be
too.
involved
I
in
wanna
making
go.
this world better.
Yeah.
So it may seem really, really tough right now, but in the long run, it's gonna just change the whole system.
Yep,
It's gonna
exactly.
for the good, and I feel like it's gonna take a while.
It's a massive opportunity is how I'm
Yes.
looking at this.
Yes.
And there's so many signs that I've gotten, so much information. Speaking, I say Thoth, and I went to Egypt, and the Egyptians call him Tot. Yeah, Tot. So, but he doesn't speak very much to me, but he's always with me. And one of the most important things that he gave me, which is perfectly mirrored over what we're going through right now, is we all have to connect to the consciousness grid. I mean, we're already connected, but being aware that we're connected and seeing how we're basically sharing a group mind. It's a collective mind. And people having all this time to themselves now to allow themselves just to be because of the coronavirus and the quarantine and being sectioned off and it's got to be in our homes. It's giving them that opportunity to do just that, just to kind of veg out and people are worrying, don't get me wrong, but some people are allowing themselves to have this time as peace as opposed to worrying about what's going to happen, how's this going to work out, the economy's tanking and all this kind of stuff. What about my job? Some people aren't working. Some are able to kind of silence that and use this kind of break time to go within, to go deep within themselves, and by doing that they're becoming more aware to, we are all one thing, we're all one type of energy, and what do we want to create together versus just following what we've been taught this creation is, right? Like we're stuck in a flow of systems that we inherited. We didn't create this directly ourselves. I mean, if you look at past lives, I'm sure we had something to do with what this is now, but people that are working at a higher vibration are aware that this doesn't really work with my vibe. I want to change this into something else, and we now have the ability to do that. And I think this is not just the Kickstarter. This is just a really big piece, I think, of allowing us to move in that direction, meaning the virus. But there's many things that have happened over centuries of time that have gotten us to this point, of course. But yeah, it seems like the masses are becoming more, they're making it a possibility now, where before it was never a possibility. It was almost like, no, what are you talking about, all this energy thing and world peace and manifesting what it is, that are our thought forms, So it's great. So yeah, connecting with the grid, I think, is a fantastic thing for people to research on their own, to go in deep and see what that means to them and what they can get as a result of doing that.
For sure.
But yeah, coronavirus, who would have thought, it takes a virus to kind of get people to get to a spot where they go, wait, maybe this can be different. and improved, Some people are thinking, we just want this to, when's it going to get back to normal again? I don't want just normal. I want like improvement, because normal wasn't really normal, right? Normal was really limited.
It's kind of flopping the old paradigm upside down, and basically it's like they're showing me in flowers, like if we were just to like plow over a whole field and just start with brand new seeds, you know what I mean? And so this is the growth of a brand new day and age. And if people go within, they're going to get the answers themselves.
Yeah, it's all there.
They can connect, they can connect themselves. I'm talking energy and a pillar of energy up to, because that's how I work. I work with energy, and I connect up to the heavens and I connect down into the earth. I mean, that's how we work,
that's
and
exactly what I do.
and they're showing me right now, because they show me an energy. That's how they literally show me, and they show us in that flower of life pattern, us being weaved in. So that's our energy and the white energy. So we're weaving in, and that's how we're really feeling that so much stronger right now. The energy is raised so much. It's almost hard to focus. And I do want to say one thing, that if it's hard for people to work in that energy field, we all can dial things down. So that's what I teach people. One of the biggest things that I teach people is if you feel the energy is too strong, it feels very like your nerves are shot, just imagine turning that knob down, and it really helps just ground and connect you, and go into that center space, that heart space, and just quiet your mind and just do the best you can. Guided meditations work really well, but just if they can just learn how to just connect into source and get their own information, that'll be a great beginning for people.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, hearing from another energy worker, light worker, just the idea of going up and going down. I push down into the earth, and I connect as roots. My highest self presents as roots. So I actually get my power by going down. I don't go up. I mean, I go down first, and then once I'm down and I'm grounded, then I go up. and then I have a way of what I feel is like getting back down. You know, it's like a union. You know, it's like as above, so below, or you know, within, so without. So I feel like the heavens are actually, we envision up there, and there is an up there, but it's also the same thing is also right here in the heart center.
Yep.
And also that knob that you were talking about, that's awesome too to hear. It's like another confirmation, because I haven't spoken with anybody about that before, but I was reading about yogis and being able to control their internal temperature. And, you know, if they're out in the cold, they can basically have their internal temperature get nice and warm, so they'll be okay. So I was practicing that and playing with it, and it revealed itself as a knob in my chest. And I was able to kind of, just like a thermostat, like an old style thermostat, right? You just kind of move it. And I was like, oh wow, this actually works. You know, it's a simple little thing. So yeah, I know there's a lot of empaths out there that are either aware that they have something, but they don't look at it as like a gift. It's almost like a curse. I want to second what you said with regards to, if you feel that you take on a lot of other people's energy out there, play with this dial idea and recognize that you can take whatever's coming to you that you just think is a constant on switch, and you can either turn it off or you can dial it down. And just feel that within, and you'll see, even if it seems like a minor adjustment at first, once you feel that minor adjustment, that's going to signal in you, oh, I can really like get it all the way down if I need to, if the situation's really heightened and the energy is like, you know, claustrophobic.
For sure.
It's pretty wild that yeah, with all these things, we have all these different powers that we can work to create whatever kind of experience that we want here. You had lots of different types of illness that you were experiencing. And the section, like you had right side of your body felt completely different from your left side. And that led you into really pushing for self-healing. Were you worrying about what was going on with you?
Oh yeah, yeah. And so I know that at that point I exploded it with more energy, putting the energy into it. You know, I made it worse. And then by thinking, oh, you know, well, maybe I have this, and oh, I feel horrible, maybe I have that. Instead, I learned how to not turn that knob down, I shouldn't say that. I learned how to change what I was thinking. And changing how I thought. And like when I first started doing the whole switching my diet and all that stuff, I knew it was going to take 2 months for me to heal. And it did, right on point. 2 months, I knew I needed to rest, I needed to relax. I just knew exactly what I needed to do. I did it, and I was completely healed within those 2 months.
Wow.
So fibromyalgia to nothing, to healed, you know,
within an 8-week period.
Within an 8-week
to health
period.
And happiness.
Yes.
A living example right here to show, hey, we can all do this, right?
Exactly.
I think it's a good point bringing up the idea of worrying and thought forms again, because so many people, I mean, you said that you were feeling like the energy from the earth, essentially, you know, what it is that we're creating here right now based on everyone being on some level of fear, or I should say most people being on some level of fear because of, am I catching this virus, or I have a family member that already has it, or are they going through, or I already lost someone. You know, these are really difficult things to be having going on up here. And we're worrying about the what if. I think worrying as a definition is important, right? It's you're caught up in something that may never ever happen. So it's all this wasted energy, despite what it appears the facts to be, like, or, you know, the potential is so strong. It's like, it's still just a possibility. And there's many other very positive possibilities within what we keep racking our brains with in terms of like the horrible what if, like the worst case scenario that could happen. And it does have impact on our physical being. Having this worrying consistent with us. And I had Saint Germain, I had a lot of people asking me with regards to the coronavirus when it first came out, you know, what are your thoughts on this? What is it that you're getting? So I just asked Saint Germain, I said, you know, what is it that we need to know about this? And it gave me multiple things. Most were just practical, like the standard things that we would think, you know, keep your hands away from your face, you know, when you're out. Make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you're breathing through your nose. Like very simple things that we typically would expect to do anyway. But the big thing that he said, the number one thing, was stop worrying. Stop worrying. All of this right now that's taking place is going to wind up being, like we said before, giving us the ability to have a grand opportunity to shift like new seeds, new birth as a result. The worrying basically brings our energy down, brings our vibration down. And the one thing with this virus, which is potential for other viruses as well, but very specific, the reason why there's so much of a difference in what people experience when they get this virus is based on their frequency. So a low frequency, and doesn't mean necessarily just low vibration or like, you know, bad thoughts. It's really a worrying thought that allows us to trigger. So yeah, shift your thought form into seeing whatever looks really dark, find the tiny little bit of light within the situation and thrust yourself in that space, immerse yourself in that space. And then the worrying will wind up going away. It might come back at moments, but still always bring yourself back to that little spot of light that you can see within what looks to be a pretty tough scenario. So.
Definitely. It's what do you want in your reality? You know what I mean? As a good friend of mine, Nancy, would say, what is it you want to create in your world? And when we constantly look at that fear, it is going to lower our immune system. It's going to lower our vibration. It's going to lower everything. So the best we can do is to try and retrain our brain to drop all that junk. Like, it's like I see it as dropping all that baggage, that energy baggage. Drop it and go, okay. Another thing I get, one of the biggest things I got when this started happening is that it's triggering people's past life fears from dying in other ways and other tragedies like this. You know, where they probably went through plagues, they went through illnesses. Obviously, we all did. We've all lived multiple lifetimes. Most of us have. And we've been through traumas. And so that's another part of the dark night of the soul that the world's going through right now, is kind of putting people back into that fear mode where they need to maybe release that. And if they don't know how to release it, you know, you can drop your karma. You can say, I release anything that doesn't work for me, and literally it will release for you.
The power of just saying it out loud actually has genuine impact. People need to know that. I mean, it seems so ridiculously simple. It's like, well, that can't, you know, the ego will chime in their heads and go, no, that's not going to work. Yeah, it will.
It helps.
Just know it, that it's the truth. And when you put it out there, it does work. It's amazing. Basically making a proclamation, stating it out loud.
And you're telling your energy field what you want it to do. So what I tell people is, when we are talking, what we think, what we say, and I even heard that from Cryon. I can't even take credit for that. It's true though. Whatever we say, it's like putting your order in a restaurant. Check. I want this. You know, this is what I want. If I want to keep worrying about something, it's like putting your order in. What do you want to put your order in for, basically? What do you want to order? Do you want to order something really healthy, or do you want to order something that's not so healthy?
You're signing up for the unhealthy thing just by worrying.
It's
exactly. Like you said before, it's the law of attraction. You know, what you wind up putting out there is a level of frequency, and it winds up, you know, showing up to you. I mean, when we do fourth dimension, you know, I heard someone call it the Hall of Mirrors, and when I thought it, like, I contemplated that for a few minutes. It's like, it's a brilliant way of putting it, and I don't know that he coined it necessarily, but I just remember hearing it from him going, that makes perfect sense. It's an immediate reflection when you're in 4D. What you think is what winds up showing up. So you manifest immediately. We're here, we're doing the same thing in 3D, only we don't see it immediate. It's a slower process. It's a slower way of showing itself. So we take what looks to be like time and space and material, you know, items. It's like we're living in this crazy world that's just, you know, we're separate, and we're kind of like a feather in the air, like just getting blown in any direction. And it's like, no. I actually have waking up to our power And once we do that, we're allowing ourselves the potential to ascend or to elevate to another level. When we get to that spot, it winds up being, oh, well, now I can create right in front of myself. I can make something just with thought immediately and see it. 2023 is a major year from what I've seen, and I've seen it in dreams from years ago, and it's showing itself up more now, much more recently. Like my third eye is open, and I see what looks like plasma from the sun being thrown at us, and it looks like it's scary, but as I'm going through it, it's actually very exciting. It feels like, whoa, this is a good sign. The feeling, I can tell you, is that if we have something along those lines take place, I don't know if it actually physically happens where we see the sun like hurling its material at us, but it was like learning how to fly is what it felt like.
It feels like, because I feel it in my heart space when you're talking about it, and it feels like an explosion of awesomeness.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to be afraid of it, is what I got when it happens. It's like, oh, we're going to fly again? It's like we already knew how to do what we're going to learn how to do when this shift happens, when this massive thing happens. What is it, if anything, that you've heard in terms of what it might look like as we continue to progress spiritually?
It's interesting because they were showing me pictures in my mind as you were talking, so
cool.
It's kind of cool because I haven't really asked. So they showed me, in my mind, they showed me pictures of people putting it all back together and rebuilding. Slower probably than I want it to, but people rebuilding and learning new ways of coping. Actually, they're showing me people building, growing their own crops, starting to
more local,
like literally
local community.
They're showing me my own yard because I have property. So starting to cultivate our own stuff, starting to they're showing me meditate and start to kind of connect into their own heart spaces so that they can work on themselves. And then they're connecting the grid. They're sending that around.
It's going to expand as a result of more people doing that. Like, because once more people wind up going to the space and recognizing that from here we're all connected, we're all going to start feeling that. And the collective mind of all of us that are choosing to go in this path are going to be able to tap into each other in a way where eventually we're all the knowledge that you have that's very personal to you and your experience and what you've learned as a result of that singular experience is going to become mine, and all of my experience is going to become yours, and so forth. So all the people that are connecting that way, it seems like we just have this massive growth of wisdom. And once we have all that, it's like, whoa, we can, it's like rapid fire at that point with what we can create and how quickly and how efficiently we can do it. I guess it's like a domino effect, but like in a positive way, no negative connotation with like dominoes falling down. It's almost like dominoes falling down in a way that allows all this new light to come in as a result. So it's pretty wild. Yeah.
It's kind of like they're showing me too, the energy of everybody kind of just connecting with their, they show me in people like standing like this and connecting. And so what we'll do is help keep bringing the next ones up that haven't learned,
great.
helping them ascend also, helping them to work on their own stuff so that they can get to that space. It's interesting when you were talking about the sun energy, it's almost like, it reminds me of some of the shamanic journeys that I've gone onto the upper world. It just feels amazing when you go up there. I went up to some of the really high levels and didn't want to come back, I can tell you that much. But what that felt like was like when I was there. So what I feel like, and they actually are showing me, and this might sound weird, this is just how they show me in pictures. It's kind of like us coming out of the shells of our bodies and just ascending to that higher level. So it's almost like astral journey. With a sun energy, if that makes any sense to you. I think it's more of a feeling that I get as opposed to like logically making sense of it, but the feeling that I get from that, I get it. So it's like us tapping into a higher level that we never could have conceived of, basically is what I just heard.
The Ascended Masters, they've laid down a groundwork for us they're allowing us to be more aware within our human experience right now. Mm-hmm. And as we continue to elevate in the ways that we can on Earth, we're helping people as they're going through some serious issues that I think the current energy in the world is kind of pressuring them into. Like they don't really have almost like a choice right now because of what's going on. So the reason I'm bringing it up and going through it is because it's a natural progression, right? You have all these beings that have already ascended, that are still totally connected with us. They've left in one way in terms of leaving their bodies and experiencing higher levels of experience. But they're like, no, we're still here for you. And the people that are here right now on Earth, that are having issues, but are pressuring themselves to be the best person that they can be, they take notice of those people, and they start giving them little bits of information. Whether they're aware of who it's coming from or not doesn't matter, but there's like all these little tests that are going on, and they're slowly bringing them to a point where they can be aware on their level. And it's people that haven't really had any of that level of stress yet, or are slowly coming to it. We're the light workers here right now helping them. So it's really it's just a beautiful thing. The process that's taking place, once you're aware of it, it's like there's nothing to be scared of. There's nothing to be worried about. However it winds up looking, however it winds up working out, it's all going to be ultimately an amazing thing for all of us. I guess what do people are scared of the most? Is it dying? I guess that's what it's got to be, right? Like,
yeah, and that's the funny thing is when I'm doing soul retrievals for people, I have no fear of death because I take
what you
them.
Know.
I literally take them. So it's funny, they've taken me on the journey with them up, literally. And so if I'm taking somebody, I've done this numerous times now, where they took me, and I worked with them, and it's like we went back to their other self when they were dying. Trying to help alleviate some of the pain one way or another. And they take us they literally take us up through the tunnel with them and take them to the other side.
That's awesome.
It's freaking amazing. Yeah. So, not that I want people to die, but
once they have that experience, when they come back, aren't they just like, oh wow, okay, I can just live freely now without all this like panic or like undercurrent of panic. I'm living my life on the surface, but deep down here I'm like, I'm afraid.
They keep showing me us digging out. It's like we're all standing on all this energy, and it's what we're doing right now is they're showing us digging out. This is fear, this is doubt, this is all of the stuff, and we're throwing it and just transmuting it. Yeah. And so with this virus, that's what we need to do. It's lifetimes of stuff that everybody's working through right now.
It's like purging it out.
We're just like, oh, come on, just come on. All right, we need to get the bulldozers out now.
Yeah, exactly. We need some heavy machinery.
We do.
to push all of this away and just let it dissolve into the ether.
Yeah, thousands of lifetimes, hundreds of lifetimes for most people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've we've drudged through that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're telling me the biggest thing about this right now what they're telling me is all of us not living in that basis of being the victim.
Yeah.
So right now we need to pull ourselves out of that victim mode.
Yep.
And realize that we have more power than we ever thought we could.
Yep.
I
think the more that we wind up remembering, just like that example that you gave was beautiful. Like you take them into like this sort of seeing death and going, oh wow, it has no power over me, really. Like this continues forever. It never ends. So let's start making conscious choices to make it what we want, as opposed to just sitting in this.
Yeah.
Like, let's get rid of all of it and make it something that we really want it to be. Meaning getting rid of all the negative things, all the bad things that we don't really like, that we keep hanging around in for so long.
We do, and to start living in our joy instead, because
Yep.
it's no way to live. It's not fun.
Yeah.
And once you learn that there are helpers that are all around us,
Yep.
those ascended masters, they're with us all the time. I mean, all the angels, we can call on the angels anytime we want, you know,
Yep.
our ancestors, and they're all around us all the time. All we have to do is just tune into them.
Yeah.
And they're there to help us in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
By transmuting, by whatever, you know, whatever we need. Sometimes people just need to talk to somebody that's on the other side because they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
Sometimes that'll be their healing process. I have a family member that I just worked with from the other side that he didn't cross over because he was afraid of what he had done in his lifetime, that he wasn't going to go to heaven or whatever. And I think you probably see the same thing all the time, and I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
like
no.
Everybody is going to a great place,
Yep.
Period. And so
It's only up.
Mhm.
Always.
It is.
Always.
And
We can get caught. I always say it's cyclical. Like we can allow ourselves to be in this sort of spiral that keeps going over and over and over, but it's only ever eventually going to go up.
Yeah.
You can sink lower if you choose to, but ultimately it's like we just keep repeating until we get sick of it and we go, oh, okay. But it's always an upward progression. Always. What do you think about forgiveness? I mean, I know forgiveness, everyone's on board for that.
Yeah.
Some people love to hold on to stuff in a way where they won't forgive themselves for what they think is really bad, or they won't forgive others. And to allow ourselves to get rid of this stuff even faster, I always tell people, forgive. It's almost like the immediate karmic release. Just forgive. Don't hold on to anything. It's only going to hurt you ultimately, and yeah, it'll hurt others as well. But why would you want to keep holding yourself back as a result of, not letting go of something that you think, was somebody's fault? All right, fine, maybe it was. So what? Just forgive them, forgive yourself. You do that, you have the ability of being so much lighter and raising your vibration that way.
Sure. True.
And
Or
eventually-
release.
Yeah,
Release.
yeah.
See if you can release it somehow, or stop holding on to what's. A lot of times, energy is weaved in too.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'll have people release that energy, pull it from the roots.
Yeah.
And that really helps, because sometimes people are really connected by these cords of energy.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times if they can't release it, I'll try and help them that way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like pulling that wound out from the root, and just grounding that down and releasing that from our energy field, because the way we're attached to other people is just this big grid.
Yep.
And so once we get into our own energy, instead of having everybody else's still connected in, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And it tends to, for me, I do that a lot because that helps them to release it a little bit. And then even if they can't forgive, sometimes they just can't.
Yeah. No,
but
they can be stuck in it.
Stuck in it, for sure.
It's such an intense or emotional experience that they had, whatever it is, whether it was against them or something that they did to somebody, whatever it was, so intense that they will not go there. I know, people in my family, no matter what it is that I feel I can do for them, if they don't show up to say, I'm ready to try and work with this, I can't do anything for it. So, yeah.
And a lot of times that stuff will go back and forth lifetime to lifetime too. And so sometimes you really have to dig down and see it in other lifetimes and see what else happened, because sometimes when they can't release it, what I've seen is a lot of times there's more there to that picture, and there's deeper levels that you have to go to.
Yep.
And so that forgiveness sometimes is, because we all go back and forth playing these roles in these lifetimes, and sometimes maybe one person was the bad guy, and then the next time the other person's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just went back and forth until you go, okay, I give.
Okay,
maybe we were
I surrender.
Yeah, maybe we were kicking ourselves in the butts to grow, because that's really what it's about. It's really about growing.
Yep.
And when we do that and we realize that, oh, we don't have to be mad at that person anymore.
Yeah.
It's really actually, we might have planned it. That's what I see. They show me, They show me that. They show me how we plan it ahead of time.
It's all, I love it. We could talk for hours because the idea of like the planning and, how free will works into that, if we've already like agreed to certain like things that we're going to be experienced, how we plan this ultimately for us. It's so wild. It's so ridiculously complex from our perspective as humans. But I know when we're up there looking down at what we're going through, like if you look at your highest self looking down at you as a human being, it's so incredibly simple. It's like story-wise, the story of what we're experiencing is so complex. There's so many moving pieces. There's so much interaction. It's like, how did we plan all this out? And when you see it from a highest self perspective looking down, it's literally like a 3-character equation. It's like this tiny little, like, this plus this equals this, and it's done. And then it explains all of it. It's like, how? I don't get it. Like, I don't have the mental capacity as a human being to, pull that together. And
we don't. We don't understand. Nobody understands everything. But we can see what they show us.
Totally.
And they show us a lot of information, to understand the parts that we can understand. But there are points that we get to where we're just like, okay, I can't always understand all of this, but I can tell you, this is what I'm being shown.
Yep.
So I don't think we're supposed to know. We aren't supposed to know everything until we get back to the other side again.
Yeah. We'd be cheating ourselves of this amazing experience if we had all the information to piece it together. I think what's great now is like the time now in terms of logic versus what we would consider to be illogical. That dichotomy. Sure, we need to do things a certain way to get a certain result in the material world. But now on an energetic way, it's opened up in such it's opened up now where we can do whatever we want to energetically without having any kind of logic to it. It just happens just because we're thinking of it to be a certain way. And I know probably about 8 or 9 years prior, like 2011, 2012, it wasn't the case. Like before that time, you couldn't do it that way. It had to be a very specific type of way of working with energy to get the effect that you want. And now I feel like it's just completely so open. And what we learn from other masters who have worked in different modalities, like you said, you have to make it your own, right? You take this information, you understand the process on their level and what they're doing, and then it's like, oh, wow, like if I take this and this and do it this way for me, I can help these people that much more so as a result. I think that's such an amazing thing now, to be living in that kind of way where, we can take whatever it is that we want to, and we can move energy in a way that works for us, that we know will work for the people that we're working with. And it's all, it's all individual basis too. Like who's coming to you, it's going to be completely different than somebody else that's coming to you.
Sure.
Right?
And we're all tapping into our past lives, our other selves. So, I don't know if you want me to get into that, but we're all living all of our lifetimes kind of at the same time.
I've not heard that.
So like I have tapped into my other selves that I've seen, that I learned from, that are me, and I'm tapping into those things from other lifetimes that I learned. I was an Aztec shaman in another lifetime. Saw how I got killed. That wasn't pretty. A lot of times. Did
you see it but not feel it?
I could see it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they chopped my head off.
But you didn't have to feel it, right?
I didn't feel it.
Good.
No.
Good.
But there are past lives. There were many lifetimes where I was different kinds of healers. I was a male, more like wizard in another lifetime where, I got killed for my healing abilities in that one because they were afraid of me. And
I'm sure. Yeah.
I was a master with herbs in that lifetime, so I healed somebody a little too well. You know what I mean?
And word got around the town, and all the people came at you.
Yeah, and I've seen myself in different lifetimes, and I know that because I was super fast tracked with my stuff. what 17 is when I was really starting to really open myself up into this stuff and really start learning. So that was not that long ago. And so I've learned all this stuff in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
Now I've been reading books from mediums and stuff like that before that, but now I really got into where I was the healer. And every time I turned around, the teacher that I needed was there. So once I got started in my path, when you put the intentions out, those healers or those teachers are there to help you.
Yeah.
And healers, there were things that would come up in my body when I would see myself from other lifetimes, and it would be painful. And that was a lot of stuff that I was going through physically. Mm-hmm. That was really my problem. It was reliving some stuff, going through that dark night of the soul, going through drudging up all that stuff so that I could release it. But I didn't know what it was. So at the time I would go through it, and I did turn to other healers and my Reiki friends and stuff like that to help me heal those things in myself, which helped me release those.
Wow.
And get rid of them. So I was one of them I'll tell you about. I was an African American slave, and I was running, and I was a man, and I was running. This was just like because I was walking at work, and my foot was just killing me across my foot right here, that foot, and I just was like, what is wrong with me? I don't like. Because I'm a runner and stuff, and my foot never hurt. I hadn't even been running much, and shouldn't have been hurting. And so sometimes those are things that would happen for me is I would just have a pain, and I'd go, okay, show me. And then they'd show me. So I'm walking at work out on my break, and I see this scenario. It's like watching a movie. So I'm running. I don't see what happened. I know that they caught me. I just know they caught me. And then like they fast forward to the next scene. And they broke my foot. They took like this mallet thing and just broke my foot. And so I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It was right where my foot's hurting.
And you're running on it now?
Yeah. No, there was nothing wrong with it. It was a past life thing that was surfacing for me to heal.
Yeah.
And so I went to a Reiki share, and Jen Passavant saw it, and Bonnie, and they all could see me. And I told them what happened, and they helped me work through it and release it. But it took a little while, and it took a lot of energy work. And it wasn't just for me; it was others helping me work through that stuff. But those are the types of things I'm saying is we've lived through all these lifetimes.
I see, yeah.
As healers, that one I don't know if I was a healer in that one, but that was just an example of something that I had seen. But seeing myself as healers in different lifetimes, and I'm tapping. And you are too, probably. We're tapping back into those other selves, those other us, those other, versions of us that we've learned so much from. And so that's how I just got all that stuff so quickly, is it just came right to me.
It's amazing.
When I started working it, I learned Reiki, and I noticed when I was learning Reiki that I was getting some major information that not everybody did, and which everybody gets information, but I was seeing right into people's energy fields and stuff, and I was able to just know things. And it was kind of cool, but we all have those abilities, and that's the cool thing. Everybody has the abilities to do all of this stuff, and they just need help accessing it if they can't figure it out.
I think a big piece to that puzzle to help people recognize that they do have that power, they do have the ability to do all these things, is contemplating, giving themselves some time just to contemplate consciousness, that they are a conscious being. And that's it. I mean, ultimately, everything that we see around us is very distracting, actually. So just going with thought as to you being a conscious thing. And what exactly is consciousness? Just that thought alone and playing with it gets you to a point of where did any of all this come from? How can I be aware of myself and have the ability to have these thoughts? And slowly you recognize this thing that you identify yourself as being a human being is very limited.
When I was in it was Hopi land.
Okay.
Yep, it was in the Hopi area. There was a, it wasn't the one that
Four
they usually talk about.
Corners,
It was a place that me and my sister went, and they took us to this healing place. And she didn't tell us it was a healing place. It had tons of the rock art and stuff like that they had made. And petroglyphs, I should say, not rock art. The petroglyphs, but it wasn't one that people usually will go to. And she took me to this place, and it was so cool. I stepped on the earth, and as she's talking to me, I went into this other dimension, and I could feel the energy from the earth coming up through my feet. And it was like, the energy from Sedona makes you feel like you're on another planet.
Yep.
Well, it was stronger.
Completely different, yeah.
It was stronger in this place. And this energy just was coming up, and I couldn't focus on what she was saying because I was like in this other dimension, like, holy crap, like it felt awesome. And it just came up through my body really slowly. And then she had asked me a couple questions, which was interesting. Here's this Hopi lady that's, very in tune, and I'm telling her all kinds of stuff when I'm there, which was weird. And then, like, she was talking about a crevice in there, and I told her what I got anyway. But I knew it was a healing place, and then she told us that, and I said, I'm getting that, and then I saw myself standing there. I was a man in that lifetime, and I was a healer, and that was a place that people would come from miles and miles, hundreds of miles away.
Wow.
That was thousands of years ago, to be healed. And so it was just like, wow, like that just came back to me. That's why I just was mentioning it. It was just a cool experience.
That's so wild.
And, just going back to these places that we've been, physically in other lifetimes. And that's how we tap into these things so quickly.
Yeah.
It's because we were there, we've already done it.
Yep.
It's in our energy. We just didn't know it.
The amount of life experience that we've already had here, thinking that we're just this current one life and that's it.
Exactly.
It's like no. We have a wealth of information that we've experienced. It's
For
just
sure.
And it is there, like you said. It's stuff that we still have to work with on some level, depending on what we've experienced. It just naturally kind of taps into helping us in some ways based on those life experiences from past lives. Either way, it's incredible. We literally are amazing. Humanity, consciousness. We're amazing with what we're allowing ourselves to experience and where we're going with it. We're in a really great spot in the story right now of humanity.
Yeah.
And like we said, it looks like it could be dismal. We feel the energy. My partner, she's an empath, and we were driving down the road, and she's just looking at the houses. I'm driving, she's passenger seat, and she's looking at the home. She's like, wow, she sees all these colors. And it's like dark tones of colors that are like emanating out of the houses. And she's like, I've never noticed this before. Like I've never had this kind of feeling before, where it seems like everyone is just not feeling well. Not that they're sick or anything, just like they have negative thoughts or negative feelings about what's going on. It's a real. It looks like that. But ultimately, we're in a really good spot right now.
Yeah, I can feel it when I'm driving by houses. So I'm the same way, but in a different. I get in a different way.
Yep.
I can feel the energy, and it feels like a low feeling in my heart.
Mm.
So I'm sure
Yep.
probably the same thing. And if we keep helping, we just have to keep working on trying to help people raise their energy.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all that and try and see the good in things.
Yeah.
Try and find the little things that are good to focus on.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
that's the key to life.
Yeah.
Focus on the good things.
Find that what looks like really dark space, find that little bit of light, and then bring ourselves there to go, whoa,
Yep.
this feels pretty good.
We're both like,
make it
exactly.
big. It was explained to me early on when I was questioning, what am I doing here? I was questioning what's my role. And it was explained, you're just here to support. You're literally just here to lift people up that are asking for it. You're not out to preach to anyone. You're just literally here. When someone's coming to you, they're going to be attracted to you based on your energy.
Yep.
And you're just there to help lift them up. And it's a support system. That's it. And it's like, okay, got it. That's going to shift for all of us when we go somewhere else in this beautiful expression of life that we're going through now. It'll become something different. But right now, the most important thing that I was told for me is just put your hands out there and help people be lifted up and see the brightness as opposed to the darkness.
Exactly.